Alright guys, welcome to my 50k Q&A, and this is the last episode in my 50k series. I want to thank all of you again for your support in helping me get to 50k. So a couple weeks ago, I opened up a Q&A on YouTube, and I got over 300 responses. So I picked out the 50 best ones to answer on this video. Let's get started. So we actually have 5 people here asking about YouTube advice, or have general YouTube questions. So Thunderwolf, B&M Fanboy, and Intimate Fanboy all ask, what are some tips for future YouTubers? Or how do you become a successful YouTuber? The things that you need the most are consistency and quality, so don't skimp on that. So if you're gonna be serious about YouTube, get the good microphone. You're gonna regret not doing it later. And the third thing is to bring something different to the table. Something creative, something unique, something that'll have you stand out from the rest. Thunderwolf also says, how much time does it take you to produce your videos from start to finish? I would say from start to finish, minimum 2 days. Usually the max is 4 days. The Magic Mountain documentary, each video has taken me at least a week, maybe a week and a half. Christian Coaster says, who or what inspired you to get started on YouTube? So from last week's video, I did explain that Canada Coaster Fan was my main inspiration on YouTube to get started, but the main reason I wanted to do this was just to do rankings. Like I wanted to put that out there somewhere. I love ranking things up, so I wanted to do that on YouTube. Thunderwolf also says, how do you balance your time between having a successful YouTube channel and being a family man? So I basically don't really have any hobbies other than YouTube. So it's basically work, family, YouTube. So I don't sit down and binge Netflix a lot. Usually when I have free time, it's all working on the channel. Ryger says, this may seem a little basic, but what is your favorite part of being a YouTuber and why? Probably when I make a really good video, like a really quality video or a funny video, and being able to release that, like that feeling of getting excited on a Monday or Thursday when it's about ready to drop, that's a pretty good feeling. My Unused Channel says, how did you get into coasters? So like a lot of enthusiasts, I was afraid of coasters until I was maybe like 12 years old. So once you get over that fear and start riding them, you feel really accomplished that you were able to overcome something. So I think that's why I got into coasters, and it seems to be a lot of other people's stories also. Zach Roney says, do you play any sports? So I don't play any organized sports anymore, but back in the day I played baseball, soccer, a little bit of basketball, and then in high school I played tennis. Coaster Craziness and Jacob Newstratton both asked about living in Oklahoma and Frontier City, and what do I miss about Magic Mountain? So Oklahoma's been great so far. And I have been able to travel around to a few other parks around the area, like Silver Dollar City and Six Flags Over Texas. Worlds of Fun and Magic Springs aren't too far away either. And as for Frontier City, it's not a great park, but Sophie really likes it. It's a really good family park. And the thing I miss about Magic Mountain the most is probably just going there and hanging out on the weekends. Just walking over there or biking over there for a couple hours and just getting food and riding some rides, getting some pictures. I do miss that. Coaster Cloud says, why does Sophie have more credits than me? Sophie's been around. She's been to most parks in California. She's been to Great Adventure, Lagoon, now Silver Dollar City, over Texas, Frontier City. She's up to 70 credits, which is pretty crazy. Joy says, how does your wife feel about going to amusement parks? And what does she think about your hobby? So a lot of you may not know this, but she does come on a lot of the trips. She's just not in any of the videos or anything. She does love writing and photography, and she does have an Instagram account, so go follow her, Iconic Coaster Thrills. Coastoons and Intimate Fanboy both asked, what is my favorite video that I made? So by the time this comes out, my first episode of my Magic Mountain series will be already posted. And that's probably my favorite one because it took the longest to make, and it was by far the most research, and I got to be a little bit creative with it. As for my other videos, I would say probably my Paramount Parks video. Great American Coaster says, if you had the opportunity to collab with any YouTuber, doesn't have to be a coaster channel, who would it be? I never really thought about this before, but I guess if I had to pick one, it'd be Defunctland. He did ask me onto his podcast to talk about my experience working at Magic Mountain. I said yes, but I haven't heard back from him since. Arthur Z says, are there any coasters that you're truly scared of? And the answer to that is no. I can't think of a coaster that I'm really scared of. The only one that would make me a little bit nervous is probably Gravity Max. Brian Beloso says, now that you're pretty well traveled in the theme park space, which park do you enjoy visiting the most and why? I love the feeling when you get to Cedar Point and just look at the skyline and you just know it's gonna be awesome. But my favorite experience at any park, I think at this point, is Kings Island, because I just know that it's gonna be a great atmosphere, it's gonna be a great day, everyone's gonna be on the top of their game, rides open, ops perfect. Kings Island, probably my favorite park for that reason. Max Cooper says, favorite inversion / moment on a single coaster of all time. I'll probably do a video on my top 10 inversions at some point. Right now, I'd probably say the Top Gun stall on Twisted Colossus without really thinking about it much. As for my favorite moment on a coaster, I would say that's the Outer Bank on Steel Vengeance. Skyrush Fanboy says, highest bucket list B&M outside of North America. For that one, I'd say Nemesis. Aussie Coaster Enthusiast says, what's your dream coaster road trip? So keeping this somewhat realistic, next year I do want to go to Europe, and there's 4 countries I want to hit. That's Germany, the Netherlands, Poland, and Sweden. I think that would be like a really good European set. I know I'm leaving out some other countries there, but in that like a 2-week time span, I think I can hit those 4 countries, and that would be a really great road trip. David Bain says, how do you plan coaster amusement park trips? It's all about how much time you have and which parks you want to go to. And from there, you can start slotting them in and be realistic with how far the parks are between each other to make sure that you can actually get from one to another within a day or a night. Chip Watford and Brady GD, what's your favorite coaster in the state of Florida? And when do you realistically think that Iron Gwazi will open? So my favorite coaster in Florida right now is Mako. But I put the Iron Gwazi question in there because once that opens, that'll be my favorite, no doubt. As for when Iron Gwazi will open, I have no idea. Maybe in June or July, but we'll have to see. Lilia Gamer says, I was wondering what the most G-force you felt on a roller coaster was. I think for me, it's that first turn on I-305. Iman says, what's your favorite food and drink? I'd say like the pinnacle of food and drink is probably the Crunchwrap Supreme at Taco Bell with a Dr. Pepper or a nice coffee. Coaster Roaster says, what's the longest amount of time you spent at one park on one trip? So I've said in the past that I don't like to spend multiple days at a park. So I think the most I've spent at any one park is a day and a half, and I've done that a few times at Cedar Point. Matthew Beam says, when going to a new park, what type of coaster would you usually try to go to first? So if there's a brand new popular coaster, that's what I'm going to first. But otherwise, if there's a coaster that has terrible capacity, like Pandemonium at Six Flags St. Louis or Nighthawk at Carowinds, I always hit those first. Ashcraft says, what do you think is the best park for families? And Theme Park Predictions and Declan C both ask about Frontier City and how it can be fixed. So I put these questions together because Frontier City is a really great park for families, and it might be the best one that I've been to. So when people talk about fixing it or making it better, I think that it is what it is. Maybe you could put like another small scale thrill coaster like a Raptor in there, but otherwise it is a family park, and I think that it is that's what it's going to be. Crow's Charts, Magical Ranter 224, and Process 22 all ask about coasters that I wish I could have ridden that are no longer around. If I had to pick one, I would probably say Eagles Fortress from Everland. Coaster Fool says, you don't speak too much about Knott's Berry Farm. What are your thoughts on the park, and do you like it or not? I think Knott's is a really solid park. I wouldn't put it in the top tier or anything, but it's really good for a day. I think that you could maybe get bored there after you spend a full day there, but I would say it's kind of the middle of the road Cedar Fair Park. Darren Hoag says, what are your biggest pet peeves at a theme park? I would say either one train ops and slow operations or row assignment. I really hate row assignments. Enthusiastic Banana says, what do you think a coaster would need to top Steel Vengeance? And Luke Z says, what could surpass Green Lantern as the worst coaster ever? So for Steel Vengeance, I think the only thing that can top it is maybe something that's way taller and way longer. Because for me right now, the length is what really puts Steel Vengeance above anything else. As for Green Lantern, I don't think that there's a single coaster out there that I think would be worse than Green Lantern. Though, I don't know, maybe Skyline can come up with something. Prakash says, do you think that you'll have a new number 1 after 2021? Why or why not? The only one that I think can challenge Steel Vengeance is Iron Gwazi. And I don't think Iron Gwazi has the length to really challenge Steel Vengeance. The one coaster I think could beat Steel Vengeance is Conda at Wallaby, Belgium, but I'm not going to get there this year, so that'll have to wait till next year. Quentin Tam says, what's the most prettiest coaster ever? Not theming or anything, just the track and the train. For prettiest track and train, I think it's definitely Gatekeeper. Lazard LOL says, what are your thoughts on Six Flags Darien Lake? What do you think it needs to become a top tier Six Flags park, besides an RMC Predator? I really enjoyed my day at Six Flags Darien Lake, and I really see the potential in that park. It has a lot of land, it's really big, it has some really solid rides to start with. I think RMC Predator is the perfect thing for that park. Otherwise, I think it could use another major high capacity B&M, like a wing coaster. The Quacken's Coaster Channel says, how do you have every single credit ranked? That seems like it would take forever. It's hard to rank every credit, but the way you do it is you kind of group them together. So if you have similar inverts or clones or family coasters, you kind of put them all in one spot and then you kind of move them around from there. The Gabriel Channel says, what words of encouragement would you give to a new coaster enthusiast trying to ride a new coaster? And how do you get over that weird stomach feeling when you get airtime? So when I see anyone who's too scared to ride, I tell them the coasters are safe. And you're gonna feel really good once you ride it and you get off, you feel really accomplished. As for that stomach feeling, I see that from a lot of people, and I don't know what to tell you. That's what coasters do to you. So if you don't like it, maybe coasters aren't your thing. Magical Rancher 224 says, why do you rank Goliath ahead of rides like Gold Rusher and Revolution if you don't like it? And Henry Rides Bike says, what's one coaster you wish was better? So the answer to that one is obviously Goliath. And if you saw my pros and cons on Goliath, I don't necessarily hate it. I still think it has some redeeming factors like its speed and its smoothness, so I still would choose to ride that over coasters like Gold Rusher or Revolution. Red Slayer Rides, Meme Central, and QWise all have questions about Skyrush. Why do you hate Skyrush? Will Skyrush ever not suck? Would you rather ride Skyrush 100 times or Green Lantern 50 times? Okay, so first off, obviously Skyrush 100 times because Skyrush is actually a good ride. It's in my top 100 or like right around 100. So is it ever going to be a good ride? It is a good ride. It's just not like a top 5 elite ride. I think that it has some good forces, but it's like just super, super overrated. Pertonica says, if Superman at New England had good lap bars, what place would it be in your top 50? I've always said that if Superman had the T-bar still, it'd probably be in my top 5. Dark Phoenix 600 says, what's the best coaster in each park chain? Six Flags, Cedar Fair, SeaWorld, Disney, Hershland, and Universal. So this is just from my experience. Six Flags, El Toro. Cedar Fair, Steel Vengeance. SeaWorld, as of right now, Mako. Disney, for me, Incredicoaster. Hershland, Lightning Rod. And Universal, as of right now, Rip Ride Rocket. Sugar Loaded Girl 789 says, do you feel 2021 is a safe time to truly ride roller coasters? Also, when you ride them, does your mask really bother you during the ride? I think the parks have done a really good job keeping people safe. And as for the mask, it does have a hard time staying on a lot of times unless you're wearing an N95 that'll like strap over your head. So when I've worn a regular like KN95, especially on rides like Outlaw Run, it really does try to pull down on you. But I've seen a lot of people where their masks fall off. But as for comfort, it doesn't really make a difference to me. Coaster Legend, Gabe's the Bomb, another Swiss YouTube user, BB and ATL, and Tim all say, when are you going to Europe or Asia? 2021 was supposed to be my trip to Europe, but that didn't happen. So maybe next year, but we'll see. As for Asia, maybe in the near future, probably would do Japan first. JEH Unashamed says, out of the coaster credits that you have, how many of them are kiddie or family coasters? And which one's your favorite? So I did check, and out of the 448 I have, only 48 are family or kiddie credits. And my favorite from that bunch is probably Fire Chaser Express. Force says, what fan favorite attractions could you see biting the bullet in the near future? I've been thinking Skyrush or I-305. I know those rides have their problem with the GP, but I can't see the parks actually taking them out. So if I had to pick one that's kind of a fan favorite that might get removed soon, I would say Gemini at Cedar Point. Twin Skeeter says, do you think that Great America will give another ride to Six Flags America? I think it's possible. I mean, look, vertical velocity could happen. Jessica Mullen says, what are your top 2 rides at Cedar Point and why? Number 1, Steel Vengeance. Best coaster I've ever ridden. Just great height, great length, most airtime on any coaster, obvious. The other one's kind of controversial. It's not Maverick, it's not Millennium Force, it's not Dragster. It's Magnum XL 200. This ride is great from start to finish, but that finale is just off the wall bonkers. It's a one-of-a-kind experience. Elite Coasters, Roller Joester, and Colin Batten all ask, where do you think that Gerstlauer record-breaking coaster is going? So Gerstlauer did announce that they're going to build a record-breaking coaster in the US, and everyone's wondering where it could go. And as of right now, I'm thinking Cedar Point. They're due for a new coaster. I said that one of the most popular picks for them right now would be an Infinity coaster that has 15 inversions, or maybe even 10 inversions to break the US record. So other than Cedar Point, I don't even really know. Holiday World's a possibility. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know what else. I think that maybe Kings Island, but Cedar Point's the definite pick there. Braxton B and Noah Berlin ask, what are your favorite thrill rides that aren't coasters? And what is your favorite non-thrill ride? So for favorite non-coaster thrill ride, I would probably say those big giant discoveries by Zamperla, like Crisanity. And as for favorite non-thrill rides, I would say the ones at Disney Universal are definitely up there, like Radiator Springs Racers or Soarin', or obviously Harry Potter. Jessica Mullen says, you talk about Magic Mountain, but you never really hype it up like the others. What's your genuine opinion of Magic Mountain? Maybe I take Magic Mountain for granted because it's been there for so long, but I do think that the park had a lot of, average coasters at best, and then with Twisted Colossus, they kind of stepped it up a little bit, and then they kind of paired that with X2 to give a good 1-2 punch, but I don't think that Magic Mountain quite has the depth of Cedar Point. So even though it has the most coasters, I think a lot of the coasters are kind of weak. But then again, that could just be me riding them too much. Coaster Freak 486 says, what's your favorite and least favorite coaster type? For favorite, I'd probably have to go with the RMC iBox. And for least favorite, I've only ridden one, but I'm pretty sure that all Zamperla Volaires suck. Colin R says, what's a park that you've never been to but have always wanted to go to? My number 1 bucket list park is actually one that I've wanted to go to for a long time now, and that's Fuji-Q in Japan. Yol Ma says, best and worst Goliath. So as of right now, I would say the best ones at Great America and the worst ones at New England. Ghost Rider Fanboy says, what's the most GP moment you've done as an enthusiast? So I've told the story before, but back in 2004, I was not really an enthusiast anymore. I went down to Knott's just for a fun day, and I got there and I saw this giant B&M inverted coaster just sitting there, and I had no idea that it was there. That was Silver Bullet. I had not followed any construction, heard any news. I just come up to the park and I'm like, oh, they have a B&M invert now. And how did that fly under my radar? I don't know. Johan LL says, who are your favorite other coaster YouTubers? Do you guys have a group chat or hang out in real life off camera? So check out last week's video for my favorite coaster YouTubers. As for if we hang out, sometimes we do. Yeah, so it depends on, usually it's at a park. So I've met, El Toro Ryan, Coaster Studios, some other guys at parks. I've gotten blown off by others like Hershey Addict, who didn't want to meet me for a vlog at Hershey Park. I'm still bitter about that one, man. And I gotta say, it was cool meeting some other coaster YouTubers at Keys to the Kingdom last year, like Logan from Thrills United. That was the first time I met him, or Sean Flaherty. So that was a cool experience. Insane Coaster says, how many credits does Sophie have? What's her favorite coaster? So as of right now, she has 70. And her favorite coaster, I think as of right now, is Time Traveler. Rocky says, what do you think of the Roller Coaster Jerks subreddit? They seem to kind of hate everything you do on there. What do I think? I think they're just having fun, honestly. If they hated me that much, I don't know why they'd watch the channel. I don't personally watch any channels that I don't like. But if they really feel that way, that's the one thing I don't get about some coaster people. It's why they get so passionate and angry about coasters, because, like people critique me for saying a coaster's bad or good, which, that's, you're being a critic. But in terms of actually like attacking people for their opinions, that I don't understand. Evan G says, what are your favorite dad jokes? So as Sophie gets older, I'm really getting more into the dad jokes. So my favorite one, the one that annoys people the most, is probably when they say soy sauce. And of course, soy means I am in Spanish. So when they say soy sauce, I'm like, you're what? You're what? You're what? And then they eventually catch on, and then they just roll their eyes and they move on and ignore me. So that's it for the 50K Q&A. And thank you guys all so much for submitting your questions. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing and supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.